living next door to gun-toting American extremists bent on terrorizing other Americans. We're hearing anti-government militias are now making a comeback.
Come out of the woods with me and Hobbs! We'll show you what it's about! Be ready, people! Be ready! Anytime! Any place! When the new world order shows up, I'm gonna kick his ass!
Hi, I'm Lee Miracle from the Southeast Michigan Volunteer Militia. When you hear a story about the militia in the media, this is probably the image that you get. A crazy guy with camouflage on and a wacky helmet holding a rifle. I'm here to show you a different picture, perhaps a much more accurate one. Next month, in September 2009, we will see the 15th year anniversary of my personal involvement in what has now become the Southeast Michigan Volunteer Militia. If I would have been involved in illegal activity between now and then, do you think law enforcement would have caught on and I would have been arrested and jailed or worse by now? I think so.
The video is an example of how militias are making a comeback, according to a new report from the Southern Poverty Law Center.
We're at a very worrying moment, in my view.
Before anyone takes the word of a paid employee of a discredited extremist left-wing group who does a report about the militia, shouldn't you ask the militia what they're about themselves? Wouldn't it make sense to interview the subject of the story instead of taking someone else's word for it? We don't appreciate having our ideas and our belief system assigned to us by Mark or anyone else outside of our group. If you want to know about us, you're invited to visit our website at michiganmilitia.com, visit any one of our social networking sites, which you can find by searching yourself, and ask us. Before you decide what we think, ask us what we think, and we'll be glad to tell you.
The government's intelligence assessment said lone wolves and small terrorist cells embracing violent right-wing extremist ideology are the most dangerous domestic terrorism threat in the United States. A leader of the Michigan militia told us members of established militias like his, which do training on firearms and first aid, shouldn't be lumped in with violent extremists who talk about mounting attacks.
That's not something that we want to tolerate. You know, we're not going to let any innocent Americans get hurt.
He described their ideology as pro-freedom and pro-constitution, not anti-government.
We really appreciate the efforts by some reporters for CNN to actually contact us following the release of this Splc report. It was a pleasant surprise. We think this is the path that more media groups should follow in the future. When you get a report about somebody, call them and ask them. At least let them present the other side.
Now, a new report claims anti-government militias could be making a significant comeback, according to a new report from the Southern Poverty Law Center.
We're at a very worrying moment, in my view. We're seeing a kind of perfect storm of factors that favors the continued growth of this movement. We're talking about non-white immigration, a black president, an economy that is in very dire straits.
The Southern Poverty Law Center, in what may be a very, very successful fundraising endeavor, recently raised an alarm about the growth of right-wing extreme groups in the United States. We appreciate their recognition of the growth we've experienced, but we would like to be more truthful about the reasons behind it. Any simpleton can claim that the rise and growth of militia groups is a result of the election of our first African-American president. The truth is different, however. Most militia groups that we know of care little for the color of the president's skin. We care instead for their obligation for the president and any other government employee to uphold their oath to support, uphold, and defend the Constitution of the United States. No, we are not concerned about the president. He is, after all, merely the president. He cannot pass a single piece of legislation, nor can he rule over a single issue in front of the Supreme Court. Our Constitution, that we've taken an oath to support and defend, provides an excellent system of checks and balances to prevent any single branch of government from becoming too powerful and assuming too much control over the lives of average American citizens. However, when multiple branches of government seem to be acting in a concerted effort to assume control over the productive energy of a free people, said free people have cause for alarm. This is not an extreme view. This is a factual view. No American wants to be told what to drive, where to seek medical help, how warm they can keep their house, or even how effectively their toilets are allowed to flush. No American wants to be told that he can't own the most effective means of protecting his life or the lives of his family. No American wants to be told that he has to work more and more hours, longer, harder hours, so he can pay more and more of his paycheck to support an overbloated government bureaucracy. Instead, Americans want to go home after a hard day's work, enjoying some of the fruits of their labor, confident that the government is doing the job of protecting individual liberty from aggression, theft, or fraud. Americans want to know that the promise of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness will be restored, protected, and preserved. Americans do not want every facet of their life micromanaged in the finest detail. Americans want freedom. But there are people at every level of government who somehow think it is their divine right to interfere with, tax, regulate, and confiscate every aspect of working Americans' life. This is shameful, and it doesn't have to be this way. But this isn't the only issue causing the recent pleasing growth of the militia movement. Terrorism remains a constant threat, one that all Americans should be vigilant against. Crime is something that Americans face every day. And while the threat of invasion remains a distant one, we'd like it to stay that way. There are many reasons to become involved in a militia. Individual preparedness is one of them. We are doing this not because we're angry, but because we care about this nation. We care about freedom. We care about individual liberties and rights. We do this because we care about each other. It's easy to demonize someone with whom you disagree by calling them a Nazi, a white supremacist, a racist, a hate monger, an extremist, or an anti-government group. It's especially easy to do so when you are employed by a discredited far-left organization whose very existence depends upon scaring people into sending donations. An organization where logic is seen as an enemy and truth is a menace. The very thought of lumping us in with Nazis and white supremacists represents a total conflict of ideologies. Nazis are socialists, and by their nature they crave a supreme leader to follow, while we, as freedom-loving constitutionalists, uphold the rights of individuals to live free and for themselves. Our members and their families represent a wide variety of cultural, religious, and ethnic backgrounds. This does not sit well with Nazis or white supremacists. Militia people all across the country spend their own time, energy, and money to support this cause. The cause of personal rights and responsibility. The cause of freedom. Freedom for everyone, regardless of your background, regardless of your race, creed, color, tint, hue, or religion, or lack thereof, regardless of your political beliefs or affiliation, or lack thereof. Freedom is everyone's. We do not get paid to do this. Ask Mark Potok or Morris Dees of the Southern Poverty Law Center how much they get paid to report on us, and you'll get a different answer. We don't get paid. Ask them how much they do. Then you can decide for yourself. Now that you've seen a little bit about what the militia represents and what we are, do we look any different to you now? We should. Thank you for watching. See you in the field.